Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Canelo has been staying in shape, ready for a potential fight date coming soon. Now obviously I don't believe that will be this year given what is going on with DAZN and Golden Boy, but he is staying in shape and staying ready for any potential fights that could come his way. Now there are many fights that he could have. I have often said that the Chris Eubank Jr. fight would be a good fight for him because it's a big fight against a big name, and ultimately they're not going to have to put huge amounts of money into that fight. I mean, if he fights Murata, there's not going to be a lot of money in that fight, so why not fight Chris Eubank Jr., a big name? If he wants that kind of payday, he will get it against Chris Eubank Jr. because Eubank is a durable fighter, stands there and fights, same as Canelo. So it would be a good fight. I don't believe that Chris Eubank Jr. would beat Canelo, but ultimately it would be a good fight. And I think Eubank does warrant that opportunity, more so than, say, Murata or Yildirim. Definitely Yildirim, because Eubank has already knocked out Yildirim, and Yildirim lost his last fight. So, I mean, it just works. Then there's also like the Golovkin fights, which won't happen, and the Charlo fight definitely won't happen because he's fighting Derevyanchenko. So these fights are lining up for Canelo. He has to be careful they do not elude him, especially considering what is going on now in his career, because Canelo is 30 years old. He's in his prime. He's not going to get much better than he is now. I mean, when he starts hitting 33, 34, he will start going back the other way. Not because that's old, but just because he turned pro when he was 15. So ultimately, Canelo is peaking now. He's had an early career, and at the moment, he's in the peak of his powers. So at the moment, he needs to be active. He needs to be fighting regularly against top-level opponents. But considering what is going on with Canelo at the moment, is that going to happen? Not this year, not at all. I mean, it's great to see Canelo in the gym, training, staying ready for a fight. I mean, he's a gym rat anyway. He loves to be in the gym. He loves to keep training and preparing. That is why he is so successful, because he is preparing out of camp for when he goes into camp for these fights. He's always ready. So that is brilliant professionalism from Canelo. But still, as I said, he needs a fight. He needs a fight date. He needs someone who can motivate him. Like, I mean, I'm going on about it, but Chris Eubank Jr., even like a Derevyanchenko, if he wasn't fighting Charlo. So he needs these kind of fights, not a Yildirim, not a Murata. I just don't see why they are significant fights for him to be having. If he wants to go into the super middleweight division, he had the chance to fight Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders. They didn't happen. I mean, you cannot say that Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith did not want that fight. They did, but it just seems like somehow these fights have eluded Canelo, and Canelo ain't scared. Look at his last 5 opponents. He's definitely not scared. He would fight anyone. He'd probably end up jumping up to cruiserweight someday and fighting someone up there. So Canelo is not afraid to go through the weight classes and fight top opponents. It's not about that, but ultimately there seems to be some reason why these big fights are currently eluding Canelo, considering the last 5 opponents he has had are top level opponents. So what has changed? I know we are going through a global pandemic and money isn't there. It's difficult to make these fights, but Canelo is such a big draw that him against anyone is still a big fight, a fight that people will want to see, even if it is Yildirim or Murata, which I really don't want to see, but still, those kind of fights will still be interesting to Canelo's fans, but hopefully he fights someone with a bigger name. So the money is there for Canelo. I mean, maybe not as much as he is hoping, because he said he would happily take a little bit less than he has promised to make these fights, because obviously the current climate. But still, the fights did not happen because apparently DAZN were really lowballing that offer to Canelo when he was promised 35 million per fight. So they were lowballing that offer, even though Canelo explained that he would be happy to take less considering all of what is going on. But still, I mean, Canelo has set this precedent where he fights top level opponents in seemingly every single weight class. So you can't go from that and fight Yildirim or Murata. You have to go and fight the best in that division. If that is the precedent you have set, then you have to maintain that. So go in the super middleweight division and fight Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders. In my opinion, the top 2 in that division. I just think that Canelo is too talented. He's too much of a draw to be inactive, especially considering at the moment we need these big names to be active. We still need to see these big fights because we don't know when things are going to change. So these big fights need to happen, because if they wait, How long are they going to be waiting? But it is encouraging to see Canelo in the gym, training, staying ready for any potential outcome, any potential fight. Hopefully he does fight next year, early next year. I don't believe it will be this year considering all of what is going on. But we want to see Canelo back in the ring doing what he does best. Canelo is an incredible fighter, an elite level fighter in his prime. So we still have years and years left of Canelo. Let's make sure we do not waste them with him being inactive. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.